dude, we have done. You've been on my podcast. I want to say twice before this.
At least.
I don't know yet.
We have a history.
Oh man, we might be. It's Thursday, dude. It's Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, actually it is.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time we got that hotel room at Order of Man?
Yeah. Have you ever seen that scene in Dumb and Dumber with the hot tub?
The heart hot tub.
Yeah, I was like, I told my wife, I'm going to this men's conference. It's for men with beards. And me and Larry are sharing a hot tub.
And you didn't even have a beard. You were shaving at the time.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That was pre-adolescence. That's
Right.
how long ago that was. Yeah, no, you've been on my show twice. I think I've been on your show twice.
At least.
Yeah,
At least
that's
twice,
crazy, man.
yeah.
Dude, where does the time go?
I know. We were
insane.
just talking about it today when I got off the plane that 3 years ago we were at that event, which means we go back at least 4, almost maybe even 5 years ago now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I actually, I think the way I met you, I'm trying to think, might have been through Jason. Was it Jason?
Mackenzie?
Yeah.
Most
Yeah,
likely. Or it
Jason
might have
McKenzie.
been David Rackford, who's the Kevin
Oh
Bacon
my
of the
God, it was
internet.
David. Thank God we caught that because David
Yeah.
will watch this and he'll be like, "You son of a bitch." But yeah, he was the one who introduced us.
Yeah. He is
Yeah.
the Kevin Bacon of the internet.
He is like, man, that guy. If you don't know, if David Radford doesn't know who you are, you're not.
You're probably living under a rock.
You should just go. Shout out to David Radford. That's awesome. But yeah, no. Then I think I joined one of your
Early.
like men's. What did you call it back then? I
We
forget.
just called it the Dad Edge Mastermind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dad Edge Mastermind. Yeah.
We took on 10 guys at a time for 3 months, for 90 days.
Yep.
And that was 2016, and I remember you doing that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Those were good days.
I think your son at the time was 2.
Correct.
And
he was born in
I don't
2014.
Yeah, and you didn't even have the other one yet.
Nope. Because
Yeah.
the other one, yeah, that was right. That was when, man, bringing back some good times. That was when my wife was pregnant with our second.
Yeah.
And then the first one was causing all hell and whatever, terrible twos. And yeah, and we were getting ready for number 2.
You know what? This one's crazy. Let's just have another one.
No, that's exactly the opposite conversation we had. It was more of like, how do we get pregnant? I don't even know.
Right.
How does that work? How are babies made?
Yeah. It was probably stress relief what it was.
Yes. Well, I could tell the story, but my wife will. If it somehow circles back to her, she might. I won't need a vasectomy anymore. She'll just castrate me. So what's up, man? You're here in beautiful Washington D.C. We have the coronavirus. We have
Right.
Donald Trump. What else we got? Yeah, that's enough, I think. But
That is enough. Yeah, it's actually been 4 years since I've been here. I came here actually on a trip with my 2 oldest kids 4 years ago,
Nice.
just to see the sights, just to have some time together. But yeah, I'm here actually speaking at an event. I'm speaking at Dad 2.0, and so yeah, just here in town, which is really nice.
sick, man. So Dad 2.0 is that because last year was Dad 1.0?
This is the sequel. This conference, it's funny. I should know more about it, but I do know it's been in existence for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's I guess it's a conference more or less for dads who are bloggers, maybe even podcasters, but it's also a way that like-minded fathers, I think, can come together. And from what I understand, there's 400 or 500 people here.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Bunch of dads just killing it.
Yeah, I should probably think about what I'm going to talk about. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a little prep might be good. There's
Right.
going to be a decent sized crowd. Well, dude, I must say though, like over the past, I guess, year or so, I've followed your fitness journey a lot because we talk shop all the time about working out and fitness and staying in shape as a dad and all that stuff. But you look like you're in great shape, man.
Thanks.
What's been going on? A lot of juicing or?
Yeah. So I started with testosterone enhancers, some steroids.
Sure.
I take some
Fat burners.
HGH in the morning.
Nice.
Some ephedra right
Morning
before
cocktail.
bed. I haven't slept.
Mix it
in
with
a-
with your Viagra.
Right. Other than that, I mean, I just watch Netflix, and just do all that.
That's all you got to do, right?
Right.
Pop a couple needles and pills and there you go. 75 hard.
So, right, exactly. That's how I did it. And with the Viagra, they gave a whole new meaning to 75
Oh,
hard.
man.
Yeah.
Still hard.
That's why I'm not standing up.
As you can tell, we know each other.
A little
Those
bit.
of you who are listening.
Oh, man, the fitness journey. So what I'm going to end with, I never thought I would actually say that I was doing, but let me start with the beginning. So
Sure.
you'll appreciate this. I mean, I've known you for a while. I used to be a fat kid, and not just a fat kid, but like, I mean, I had the moobs. I mean, like, I was seriously out of shape as a kid. Like,
Sure.
I was not attractive at all.
Jeez, give yourself a little credit.
No, every girl told me that too.
Oh, nice.
Actually, you want to hear a really funny story? So this actually happened. I'll never forget it. I was 15 years old. This is when everything changed for me fitness-wise. I was 15 years old, and I went to this dance, and it was like, it was a mixer. So there was a bunch of people there that you didn't know, but it was high school and all that stuff. And I'll never forget it. I went up to this. I wanted to go up to this one girl. I've been looking at her all night, and I was like, I just want to ask her to dance. And of course, they have the slow songs at the very end of the night. I was like, okay, when they play the slow song, 3 hours from now, I'm going to go up.
They do that on purpose, right?
I know.
I mean, that's like the whole thing. Let's just
Right.
get these kids horny as shit.
Right.
Like, make them sweat it out, and then they'll stay the whole night, and then we'll do
Right.
the I'll make love to you song at the end or whatever.
Oh, my God.
I'm nailing it.
Yeah,
though.
you
That's
are.
totally it.
That is right in my age range, so thank you. I think
They're all hopped up on Mountain Dew, and then
it was boys to men.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yes.
here's what happened. They were finally playing, probably Boys to Men, I'll Make Love to You or whatever. And I go up to this girl, and I finally was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I walk up to her, and I was like, hey, would you like to dance? And I kid you not, I look at the camera. She looked at me like this. She was like,
Oh no.
it was up and down, up and down with this look of absolute disgust. And she's like, not a chance. Like, literally. And I was like,
Man.
it was like that part in Ace Ventura where he goes home and he's in the shower. He's like, no, no. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So at the time, my mom was dating a guy who was living with us at the time. He was a complete, total nightmare. I'm not giving this guy any good credit. But the one thing the guy did teach me, and it all started with that moment, was this guy was he was a nightmare, mentally, physically, emotionally, just very abusive person. But he was really in shape. He was really terrible, but he looked good.
You counted his macros. Got to give him credit for
Right.
one thing.
Right.
He knew a calorie when he saw one.
He
Jesus.
knew how much protein to eat one day.
Oh, man. He
But-
was on point.
So I woke up the next morning. I came home that night. I was all depressed, and I ended up telling him what happened. And he woke me up the next morning. He's like, I've been thinking. He goes, are you tired of being a fat ass yet?
Oh,
And
man,
I
he
looked
sounds
at
like
him.
a great guy.
I know. I'm
Jesus. I you said he was terrible. He sounds awesome.
right. And I'm just like, God, my night just got worse. Like, I just went to sleep, woke up, it just continued. And he was like, are you tired of being a fat ass yet? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I really am. And he's like, are you ready to do something about it? And I'm like, yeah, I think I am. And at that point, like, I don't think I was.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. He's like, 4:30 a.m. tomorrow. I'm going to wake you up. So he did that. He woke me up every morning before school at 4:30 a.m. and he trained me. And we had some like weight equipment in our basement, that kind of thing. And he actually went out and bought a bunch of different weight equipment. We actually kind of set up like a decent enough gym that we could do stuff. So 5 days a week, 4:30 a.m. And about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, my mom and him split, which was a huge relief. But that stayed with me.
Yeah.
When I was 16, I ended up joining a gym. I have not stopped training, and that was 10 years ago.
Our cameraman doesn't know. He's like, what's so funny? He's like,
Right?
yeah, he's 26. He could be 26.
Dude, I just had an epiphany. That was 29 years ago.
Oh, man.
Like, I'm going to be 45 this year. That was that long ago.
I've never heard that story, though, before.
Yeah.
That's a cool – I mean, it sucks because I can picture, being in your shoes at that age, like all, the world is over basically. And then you have this asshole who's like whipping you into shape. But man, I mean, it's crazy how there can always be even, I mean, maybe not always, but a lot of times there can be a silver lining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His approach, though, I hope he did. You sick and tired of being a fat ass? Like, yeah, I just got my heart ripped out.
For the 100th time. Like,
right.
But
4:30 a.m.
But I'll tell you, I mean, that truly drove a passion for the love of fitness. I ended up getting my college degree in health and exercise science and
That's right.
nutrition.
Yep.
It was basically a 4-year degree to be a personal trainer.
And here you are.
Right.
You made it on the True Transformation Podcast.
That's right. It was all for this.
Yeah.
But my thing was I was going to go into like corporate wellness. Like that was like the drive back then. But yeah, I would say, fast forward now to where I am now, almost 45, and I've got 4 boys, a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old, 4 boys. So a lot of people ask me like, well, what's it like having 4 boys? And I pretty much give them the same description every time. I was like, imagine 4 drunk people that are never sober, that never want to sleep, and they never leave.
And they eat all your food.
They eat all your food.
They have the constant munchies, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, last night, right now it just started Lent, and so yesterday, as we're recording now, is Ash Wednesday. And just like any good Catholic, we didn't go to church like we should have. But
It's not Christmas? Nope.
but we do go to church every week. And we were like, okay, let's go to church on Ash Wednesday. We didn't make it. So we were like, okay, we're going to do a 6-minute like Ash Wednesday sort of prayer. So we open up like this book. And I think it was about 37 seconds in. It all went to we were just like, kids like, can we eat yet? Like, like
Is this over
I'm
yet?
starving. Like, and I'm like,
man.
no, come on. Like, I'm hungry too. Like, we'll get, anyway, that's been my life. But what I will tell you, fitness journey wise, ever since I've had kids for the past 14 years, and by the way, like my fitness journey I ended up competing in bodybuilding for about 14 years, give or take, from like 16 years, 1995 to 2011. I competed almost every year. And after I got done with that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is way too hard. Like I'm done competing, but I'll still work out.
Sure.
I kind of like let my fitness slide by the wayside. I'd get in shape and then out of shape, get in shape and then out of shape. And then I was joking with a couple of the guys that we know mutually. And I was like, I've had more I'll start Mondays in the past year and a half than I have had probably my whole life. Like Monday through Thursday, salad and macros, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll start Monday.
Yep. Yep. It's like how many? There's 52 Mondays in a year.
Right.
I've had 100.
Right.
I managed to have 60 Mondays this past year. Yeah.
Right. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But now you seem to have, at least in, from what I know, it seems like you feel like you're in a good spot now, right?
I do. I think what really happened is, and this goes to what you do, and I think as your audience, listens to this, the thing that really got me back into it again was exactly what I preach in my community, which is for fathers, exactly what you preach in your community for fitness, and that's accountability. And actually having skin in the game with that accountability. So I actually, there was a local friend of mine, lives really close to me. He owns a gym. He contacted me one day. He's like, hey man, he's like, I know that this is a goal of yours. Like, how about, you come in for some training? And then as I came in on that training, he was like, hey, actually, I'm getting ready to start the 75 hard on Monday. And this was back in September. And I was like, well, what's the 75 hard? So he told me about it, told me about the 5 rules, and we can get to that if you want. And I was like, I think that's what I want to do. So here's what I'll tell you. I think the reason I've gotten in the shape that I have, which has been probably the best shape I've been in since I was competing, was because I kept the rules very simple, or the rules were kept simple for me.
Sure.
That, and I was paying someone to hold me accountable. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to not do this because I've got skin in the game. Plus, when you have someone who's holding you accountable, I had to track everything I was eating.
Sure.
I knew that whatever I was about to eat, I had to log in MyFitnessPal, and he was watching that. So there's that. It's almost like somebody watching you in the room, but for your own good.
Yeah.
And that's what I really appreciated. And it caused me to make really good decisions, knowing that I had that accountability and knowing that I was tracking my food and that I was paying for coaching on top of it, because once a month I was held accountable to go in there, get my body fat checked, my measurements, my weight, the whole 9 yards.
That's amazing.
So if I came in and I was heavier, he'd be like, dude, what are you doing?
Let's go.
So it forced me to be accountable.
Yeah, accountability. It's that A word that people hate to talk about because it sounds, it almost sounds like, you're in trouble, right? Like, I remember my dad when I was a kid, you're not accountable. Like, and I was like, well, and so that word has that negative connotation to it, right? It's
It does.
Yeah, it's kind of like the word diet, right? You hear diet, you're like, oh, I don't want to diet.
Right.
But then you start to figure out what it actually means, right? And it's ultimately, like you said, man, having skin in the game, right? It's why I don't coach people for free. And friends of mine, I say, hey, I don't want your money, but you got to do something, right? You have to, because ultimately, if you don't do something, even if it's not paying me, I don't need your money, but maybe help me with something, right, time-wise. Ultimately, if there's no skin in the game, you got nothing to lose, and then therefore there's probably not going to be a positive outcome.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but once you experience it, then you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So
accountability is a blessing.
heck yeah.
It doesn't feel like it all the time, but it truly is a blessing.
Oh no, absolutely. It goes right along with the abundance.
Right.
Right. The more accountability I have in my life, the more abundant my life is.
Sure.
Right. And the more accountability I can provide for my friends and my clients and everything like that, the more abundance happens. It's an amazing thing.
It is. It absolutely is. And without that, people, I've been running a mastermind for fathers for 4 years now. And I think 99% of people know that there's a monthly fee that's associated with that.
Sure.
I've had a handful of guys over the years be like, I got to pay to do this? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I thought this was free. I was like, if it was free and you had no skin in the game, would
Sure.
you actually show up? And most of the time the answer is, well, yeah, good point. I probably wouldn't. Like if it came time to like, oh, I need to get on a mastermind session, or in your case, like, do I go work out or not?
Right.
Like I can always find something else to do. I got to go get that thing done. I
Yep.
got to go do this, got to do that. But, if you have skin in the game, you're going to execute differently
Sure.
in your life.
Yeah, it's funny because I tell people all the time who say, oh, why can't you just send me something for free? And of course, like we do. But I say, look, if you really want to take this to the next level, ultimately, there's something out there that's free right now that you could go get. It's called Google, right? It's open to anyone. You can go get pretty much anything on Google. I could go read articles on how to be a great dad. I could go learn how to fix a car. I could do anything I want. But I'm not going to do it till I have something that I'm going to lose if I don't. The easiest way for people in these days and times to create accountability is to invest into something.
Yeah.
Because your dollars are your time, basically, right? And I tell my oldest all the time, he's started to understand what chores are and making money and everything. And I say, ultimately, like, if you want something, right, whether it's a goal or whatever, you have to create a value system for yourself. And ultimately, the fastest way to do that is with our hard-earned dollars. Mm-hmm. And so if free was your answer, you would have already done it, right? Like I would already be shredded because there's plenty. I could name 500 blog articles out there that I've read in my life that will tell you exactly how to do it. But it's free.
Yep.
And therein lies the rub, right? Where it's like, okay, so I have to put a value to this so that I don't, for example, people do this all the time. They just don't realize it. You go buy a car. What are you going to do with that car? You going to treat it like crap? No. I just bought a house, right? You think I'm going to go wreck shop?
Probably.
My kids will.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. After my first party, I might clean up. But yeah, like, no, it's something now where I'm like, wow, think about the amount of hours it's taken me to make that kind of money. It's like, all right, I'm not going to throw this thing away.
Right.
Funny how our bodies and even our relationships with our families and kids, how that's so easy for us in times where we don't have that accountability to just be like, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Monday, like you said.
The thing that I think we're missing here, too, that I really want to address is there's a cost to taking action. There is. But there's a cost to doing nothing. I had a conversation with a guy who applied to be in our mastermind yesterday, and I have guys apply. And the last question in the application usually tells me what type of where they're at in their journey. And the last question is, are you ready to take action or not? And when I see answers like, yes, absolutely, I've waited too long already, I'm ready to do this, let's go.
Yep.
I came across a guy and I talked to him before I even got on the call with him. I said, it said, I have a long history of procrastinating. I'm not really sure. Hopefully I'll be there. And I'm like, I literally thought there for a second. I was like, do I even waste my time and his getting on a call with this guy?
Sure.
And I'm like, hey, everybody's ready at some point. So I get on a call with this guy, and I'm sure you have clients exactly like this too. And and he basically told me that, he doesn't have the relationship with his wife that he wants. And he's like, and I don't know how to unlock that. I don't know how to communicate with her. And I was like, well, dude, you're like with 99% of other people.
Sure.
I was like, what do you do for a living? He's like, I'm a civil engineer. I was like, you've had at least 4 years of school and all this training to be a civil engineer. How much training and how many resources have you unlocked to communicate with your wife? He's like, well, none. I was like, well, can you imagine doing your job with no undergrad degree and no training? We're like, hey, we want you to design that highway. Like, just go do it.
I did a couple Legos once. Like, I think I can handle it.
Right. And I was like, could you imagine that? He's like, well, no, I couldn't. I was like, well, then it's preposterous to think that we all should somehow magically have the skill set to be able to, navigate the waters of marriage and kids and even fitness, money management and health and all those things. And so we got to the end, and I was like, so in your last answer, this is what you put. And I was like, so where are you at? He's like, I don't really know, like, the investment and all this other stuff. And I was like, and I told him, I was like, yeah, it's $100 a month to do this.
Sure.
And I was like, you come and do life with us, it's going to cost you $100 a month, and it's going to cost you an hour of your time a week. That's what it's going to cost you. Okay.
Yep.
The ROI is developing the relationship. Right now, you told me the relationship with your wife is a 3 to a 4. The ROI is taking that relationship to a 7, 8, or 9, being able to communicate with her, taking your marriage from good to great to where you're talking again, you're friends again, you're spending time again, you're having sex again. Like, everything is good, and it feels freaking awesome. And because you know how to do it. Yeah. And I was like, that's the ROI. I was like, however, there is a cost to doing nothing. Sure. And I'm using this as, I told him this. I was like, I am not forcing you to do this. In fact, if you're not ready for it, don't do it, because this type of mentality is going to be contagious to somebody who really wants to be in the community that we have. And so I said, if you want to stay where you're at, then stay where you're at. However, the thing that I'll coach you on is there's a cost to staying where you're at.
Sure.
You just don't see that right now. So the last question I have for you is, if you do nothing, just keep going the way you're going, what is life going to look like with you and her 1 year from right now, from today? And he was like, that's a really good point, man. Like, I think we'd be worse. And I'm like, exactly. I was like, so this is your call. Yeah. You do with it. I respect any decision you make. If you're ready, let's do it. And if not, hopefully it doesn't get to the point where you start cooking dinner when you're starving. Because no one should be cooking dinner when they're starving.
I like that.
You want to be cooking dinner.
Don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry either.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's one thing I'll say. It doesn't matter if it's fitness-related, life-related, work-related. There's a cost to doing nothing. Sure. And sometimes that cost, you just don't see it, is higher, and it's way more grave than stepping forward into something that might be a little bit uncomfortable, that might hold you accountable to do things that you wouldn't necessarily do on your own, and learning a skill set that you didn't have before.
That can be applied to everything. It's
yeah.
crazy. I'm even thinking about my house. Like, well, speaking of investing, but there's a cost to not doing it too, right? Because ultimately buying a home is scary, right? You take a big leap and you're like, wow, I got to really make sure I'm on top of things. But then the cost of not doing it is missing out on a potential big investment, missing out on, a home, right? Yep. That's a big deal when you have a family and you want to grow together and you want to spend time together. And so, there's the cost is always the first thing we think about when it comes to doing it. But when it comes to not doing it, ultimately we have no thought around what that cost is going to look like.
Yep. Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. So you did, not that I want this to be all about fitness, but I'm just curious because you've been posting so many damn shirtless selfies. Like, take your 8-pack out of here, man. I don't know, it might be a 10-pack by now, God knows. But so you did 75 hard, right?
I did 75 hard. I started that in September. It actually ended right before Thanksgiving.
Oh, shoot.
Right.
Gee, nice planning.
But here's the funny thing. Me and the guy that I hired to help me, and he did it with me, we decided just to keep going till the end of the year.
Nice.
And so we did. I did do something that I never thought I'd do, though. So let me just tell you the results first. So
You kissed a man.
I gave him an ass out hug.
Right.
No, here's what the 75 is. 75 hard is actually. So it's 1 gallon of water a day.
Okay.
No alcohol. Stick to a diet. Doesn't matter what diet it is.
What diet did you stick to?
So I just did more or less a 40-30-30.
Okay, so you basically tracked your calories.
I did.
Right, macros
yeah,
or whatever.
I stayed within 18 to 1900 calories per day.
Oh, sheesh, nice.
Yeah, I mean it worked for me. I kept my fats around 50 to 60. I kept my protein in between 150 to 180,
Nice.
and then the rest were carbs. And I kept it real clean. But the thing is you can't cheat at all. So
no cheat meals.
No, not even an M&M.
So wait, okay, so let's
Like,
back
I'm
up for a
serious.
second, because this is a transformation podcast, and we're talking
Right.
about, permanent transformation here. But at the end of the day, no cheating. Okay,
Right.
so assuming you're following a macro plan, technically there is no cheating if you hit your macros, right? Or am I wrong there?
Yeah,
Did you maybe set some ground rules like no junk?
No junk.
Okay, so no junk.
Part of my degree was in nutrition. I've been around
Yeah.
that. So I know like M&M is not necessarily
For sure.
the best carb.
Yeah,
right?
the reason I asked those because some people, 75 hard. I have now that you tell me, I didn't realize it was that strict. But I know that some people consider like, okay, I'm gonna have like a couple snacks that aren't like that great, but they hit my calories, so it's not cheating. But you didn't have that. You were like,
didn't.
oh, so you were like,
I didn't. And
crushing.
the reason I did that was because if you really look at that plan, it's the choice. It's the mental toughness choices that come out of that.
yeah,
And what it also made me do is it made me very aware of how careless I was being. Like where I would normally go to the pantry to put something away, I'd be like, oh, there's a cookie. I'm going to grab it. Oh, there's the peanut butter. I'll have a scoop or 7.
yeah.
You know?
800 grams of fat later. I don't know why I can't lose body fat.
Right. I don't know what's going on. So stick to a diet, 2 workouts a day. 1 has to be outside. And then take a progress pick every day. I didn't do the progress pick every day. I did it every Monday.
Okay.
And that was game changing as well. And the first, actually almost every time I took it, I was like, God, this is, I hate this.
Yeah.
But it was, I'll tell you the good part about accountability and the progress pick, because if I didn't send the progress pick to my partner, then he was like, hey man, what's going on?
What are you doing?
Because that would really tell him, be like, did you stick to your diet? Why don't I see a progress pick? It's Monday.
Yeah.
So the progress pick really helped me because on some Mondays where I'm like, God, man, I'm getting so frustrated. I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. Like I feel like I'm going to stand still. And when you go off of like how I feel, and then I take the progress pick and I look at, the progress pick today versus 3 weeks ago, I'm like, oh, wait. Okay, hold on. Like I am actually making progress. I just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
So that really did help. But that kind of ended at the end of the year. But what I started though on December 1st, I still continue with 75 hard, but I switched it up. I switched to an all plant-based diet, which if you would have asked me,
hey man,
dude. And by the way,
that's so crazy.
I've made a few posts about, and the reason I did it wasn't because like I'm some crazy tree loving person. Like I had some blood work come back, and some of the things were not good.
Really?
Really high cholesterol. So when I did the 75 hard, I did, I ate a lot of
bodybuilding diet.
Yeah, animal protein, which was fine. My cholesterol was really high, and it's always been high. But my doc was like, look, man, like you need to go on medication. Not only that, but there was a high level of protein and creatinine in my blood. So they were a little worried about kidney function. And then on top of that, get this, my estrogen levels were high. So I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is really scary.
Higher than it should be, because guys have estrogen. I mean,
guys have estrogen, so it's supposed to be, I think, below 45. I can't
MGs
something,
or whatever.
MGs, yeah, and mine was like 52.
Okay, so it was higher than it
was
should be.
higher than it should be. So my doc was like, look, man, you need to go on cholesterol medication. Your cholesterol has been high for long enough, and now it's really high. And I want to send you to an endocrinologist because there might be something wrong with your kidneys, and your estrogen's too high. And I was like, how? But my testosterone was high.
Wow.
My testosterone was like 865, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, there's got to be a better way. And then I saw the documentary, The Game Changers, and I know there's a lot of whatever.
Sure.
But I've always been curious about that. So I ended up hiring, back to fitness, a vegan bodybuilding coach.
Oh, who was that? Do you know?
Yeah, Fraser Bailey.
Okay.
Evolving Alpha.
Yep.
And I just reached out to him, and I'm like, hey, this is my blood work, and I've always been curious about this, and I want to be a guinea pig.
Sure,
Like
man.
I don't know if I'm gonna agree with this. I don't even know if
Yeah.
I'm gonna like it, but I'm willing to try it for 30 days. So he was in it. He helped me with it, 30 days, and here's what I found. The first couple weeks, truth be told, I was like, I feel terrible.
Oh, sure.
And this food sucks.
Yeah.
Because
How many damn avocados am I going to eat?
but here's the funny thing. I was still able to hit my macros,
Mm.
which I know for a lot of people they think it's impossible without animal protein. But
No, it's not.
anyway,
By any means.
I did that. And then after about 3 weeks, I started to feel really good. Fast forward now, 70, 80 days later, I just got my blood work back again. No creatinine, no protein in my blood anymore. Kidneys are fine.
Great.
Liver's great. Everyone says that soy will increase estrogen. My estrogen dropped 20 points.
Wow.
Being on this, and my testosterone stayed the same. Wow. Had more endurance, better digestion. None of my strength went away. I still was able to bench, deadlift, squat, the exact same thing that
Still
I used
curling
to.
the fives, right?
Sir, the senior citizen class needs those for right
You're
now.
still doing the swimming aerobics? Not to make fun of those people.
Right.
I shouldn't do that, but
Right.
it's funny. Just
Yeah.
imagine this guy in there.
And dude, bingo night, I was able to actually take like B8, like I was able to put it down there faster.
I haven't fallen down the stairs in months.
Right.
Right.
But that was so anyway, I've stayed in back to fitness. I've stayed basically the same. Low body fat. My body fat's about 11 right now.
That's
I weigh about 180 pounds. I'm 6'1". The habits that it really taught me was working out every day. And that's one of the things that I want to share with your audience too, if you're cool with it, which is busy parents and I don't have time. And I've got 4 boys and I'm happy to give you details of how I do
Let's
it.
do that. I
Yeah.
want to hear how you did it because the outside workout, I can just picture fucking Rocky. I mean, in St. Louis, you got people trying to shoot you, right? The whole time,
that's
right?
why
You're like ducking and
I run packing. So like actually I run with my gun.
with shotgun. You run like this, right?
I do.
Winter Soldier over here.
It's actually like commando, it's like he's putting the camo on and the grenades and
Man, that'll burn some calories.
Right. I will say this. These 2 workouts per day when I was doing the 75 hard, I know you're supposed to start all over again if you don't do it, but that's the one thing I gave myself grace on. If I didn't hit that second workout, which I did probably 5 days out of 7, if I didn't hit it every day, I was like, okay, I did everything else. My family needs my time right now.
Yeah.
And I've already worked out today once, but I gave myself grace. But how I did it was, again, accountability. I work out with 2 other guys every morning. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm in the gym by 5:17.
Nice.
So, I'm sorry. I wake up at 5:17 and I'm in the gym by 5:40.
Okay.
So that's how I do it. So I am in the gym that quick and I set up everything. There's no room for error. I've got my blender bottle there, my pre-workout, all my vitamins. I've got my clothes. I'm out the door. That first workout, it's automatic. It's
Sure.
done. I'm back home as my kids are getting up for school. I hang out with them. I actually take them to school.
Nice.
And then my second workout is usually sometime over lunch. And the thing that I really learned about fitness, and I think would also benefit your audience, is stimulation, not annihilation.
Oh, I love that.
Because what I did was, for the first 3 weeks I was doing the 75 hard and I was doing these 2 workouts, I was exhausted and I felt terrible. And I was reminded of that, of like, hey, it's stimulation, not annihilation. So instead of going out and doing the Murph outside workout when I've already worked out once, it's like go out for a 45-minute slight jog or walk.
Yeah.
So I would do that. I walk my dog at lunchtime.
Nice.
I work out of my house, just walk my dog for 30 to 45 minutes. And I would do my phone calls. I would check social media. I would multitask.
Yeah.
So I was doing that. But then by the time my kids were home, I took no time away in the family at night. Everything was done before they got up or while they were in school.
Dude, that is amazing. I mean, I hear the excuse all the time. Don't have time.
Yeah, there's always that excuse.
Got a job.
Yeah.
Got a dog.
Right.
Like, cool. We got
Right.
that stuff too. I got 2 monkeys too. What else you got? Right.
They work out though with me.
Yeah. Right. I mean, but at the time excuse, I've met, and I tell this to clients all the time, right? Because I hear it all the time. Even single guys, I hear it. I don't have time. I'm like, okay. But I hear it and I say, look, I've worked with a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of very successful people who are multi-millionaires, who have kids, who have, 5 businesses, and they not a single one has ever told me, I don't have time to work out. In fact, quite the opposite. They all say, I make time to work out.
I have to work out.
Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm sure you know who
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk is. His trainer is my friend, right? And Gary gets up every day, 5 a.m. Trainer's with him, meets him in the hotel gym wherever he's staying on his, speaking engagement. And he does a workout every single day, even if he went to bed at 3 in the morning, right? And then you got somebody who's working a 9 to 5, who takes an hour lunch, who, wakes up at 7. And, it's like, hey, you have to start auditing your time, right? And with 2 workouts a day, I mean, I love the lunchtime thing because I'm thinking, how are you getting a second workout in? But I tell people all the time, look, do you have to take an hour and a half lunch? I mean, I know you hate your job, but like you could literally eat something at your desk, a healthy meal in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And be out walking around wherever you work, inside where you work. Hell, go in the stairs, walk the stairs. It just comes down to, I mean, what do you think it comes down to? Like, why do you think people make that excuse, the time excuse?
I think it boils down to a lot of things. Like, so if I could, I think one thing is I'm not worthy to give myself that. I think another one is I feel guilty doing something for myself. That's another big one. Like, I feel guilty doing something for myself. I think if you've been out of the fitness loop for a while, it's almost like, gosh, like I feel like I'm walking uphill right now,
Sure.
which is a lot. Excuse me. I think when it boils down, do I have so for instance, when I get up at 5 a.m. and I'm in the gym and I'm home by 7, so sometimes I'm like, wow, if I took an hour and a half to do work, like how much could I grow my business if I really wanted to?
Sure.
But to me, I am more productive, more sane. Like, to me, the physical results of training and fitness is just a bonus.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there necessarily for the physical results. It's nice, but I'm there because if I don't work out, I don't show up for my clients the same way I would. I don't show up with my kids. I don't have nearly as much patience with them. If I don't have some way to release some stress in the morning or get my mind right, I find myself more frazzled during the day. I find myself more short fused during the day. So I train. A lot of people are like, I have a family, I can't train. That is not my mentality. I have to train because I have a family.
Sure.
If I don't train, I am not going to be that servant leader, that selfless leader for my family. I'm going to be the irritated, aggravated, probably not so pleasant person to be around. And trust me, on days, there will be a few days that go by that I don't train, and I am that person. And that person sucks.
Yeah.
And my kids will tell you that, and so will my wife. My wife is like, why don't you go for a run?
I got a couple pink dumbbells over there. They're just hanging out.
They're actually yours.
Why don't you go get acquainted? Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I'm the same way. It's like I tell people all the time, fitness is by no means just to look good, right? I mean, it's cool, and I think it's in our nature to want to look a certain way, but I don't do it necessarily because I've experienced injuries in the past couple of years, and my body, looks much different even now than it did just a few short years ago because I didn't have injuries then. I didn't have to work around those things, and so I've noticed though just the blessing that working out is, the ultimate free therapy, if you will. It's priceless, man. Like, and honestly, I tell people all the time, I have this thing with our clients called the 10-minute rule. And it's, our goal is at least 10 minutes a day, right? Because once you start the 10 minutes, all of a sudden it's like 60 minutes. You're like, oh, okay, this is good, right? But it's that first 10-minute wall that you're just like, oh, I got to get over this hurdle. And all of a sudden the floodgates open. You're like, oh, I could be here all day, right? But everybody has 10 minutes. Everybody. There's not a single person walking this earth that doesn't have 10 minutes to work out. And so if you can do that every day, ultimately some days you will do an hour, right? And then some days it will just be 10 minutes. And cool, man. That's it, right? On to the next thing. You check the box, and that's great. But the time excuse, the whole I'm not worthy thing, that's a tough one, right? Because I get it, but that's a deeper one,
I agree. And the thing that I would tell your audience for sure is that you are worth it. I mean, I know that sounds kind of cheesy and woo, but you are. I mean, there's there's so many other benefits to doing it versus not doing it. Studies have proven over and over again that people that train for an hour a day can get more work done in 6 hours than someone who doesn't in 8.
Wow.
So it's going to make you more productive.
Sure.
It's going to give you, even companies now, they now have, I think it's Virgin Pulse is one of the applications that a lot of companies use that actually will sync to your Fitbit. And if you log so many workouts or steps and all these other things, they will pay you back anywhere from $300 to $1,000 at the end of the year of your health insurance premiums back.
Wow.
That you can put towards a gym or put towards. I think it has to be health related. That much I do know.
Sure.
So you can put it towards a gym. You can put it towards something of that nature, but they'll reimburse you that money back.
That's incredible, man. Everybody should do that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. When as we grow our team, that's something I need to do because that's huge, man. I mean, everybody should have an incentive, right?
Yeah.
It's almost the accountability, right? That we talked about. There's also the accountability of like the reward, too. Of like, all right, if I do this every day and if I knock this out, then ultimately I am going to get to this point, and that return will show up down the road. Did your cholesterol come down?
It did.
Nice.
It dropped 60 points.
Shut up.
60 points. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so that was good. So he decided not to put me on meds. I just saw him a week ago.
Nice.
And he's like, what have you been doing? He's like, the estradiol is completely normalized. It dropped well within normal range. Your testosterone's fine. There's no creatinine or protein in your blood. Kidneys are fine. Nice. Your cholesterol dropped 60 points. He's like, so what are you doing? I said, I'm doing all plant-based diet. He's like, well, you need to stay on that then. Yeah. He's like, but here's the thing, like I'm genetically predisposed to having high cholesterol. Like I can eat like quote unquote clean diet. I mean, dude, like I was eating like chicken and lean cuts of red meat and fish, and my body is just, it's on overcharge when it comes to making too much cholesterol. It just is what it is. My dad's the same way. But for me, he's like, look, man, with your genetics, like if you want to stay off meds, you pretty much got to stay on this diet, which I'm actually fine with. I actually like it now. I feel good. I sleep better. I train just as great. My blood work shows I'm doing better. So for me, it works. I'm definitely not touting that it's the way of life for everybody, but for me, it's working right now.
Yeah. And dude, I love that because that's my philosophy with everybody. And this is why I can't stand fads. Because they don't factor in everybody's individual needs.
Right.
There's a big one going on right now, the carnivore diet. It's everywhere.
Right.
Joe Rogan did it, right?
Yep.
And he, did it for 30 days and lost 12 pounds or whatever,
Sure.
right? Cool. Everybody, I mean, and I think to myself, that's awesome, right? But that's where it stops, right? That's where it stops, where I say, that's awesome that it worked for that person. Great. Thumbs up. But when I draw the line is when people say, and now everybody should do it.
Everyone should do it.
Yeah. And that's what happens, right? And imagine if you went on the carnivore diet, right?
Right.
And sure, there are some jackasses out there that would argue like, well, why don't you test it out? And, maybe your cholesterol will come down and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, man. Like, you just proved that you're the opposite of the carnivore diet, and it's worked wonders for you.
It has. I mean, and again, I'm very respectful in the fact that it's, like you said, it's an individual individual decision. Here's the funny thing, though. Like I've made a few posts about like, I'm 60 days plant-based diet. This is what's going on. Like I'm having these good results. And I'll even do like before and after, like here's when I was on meat. Here's when I'm on, you can't tell a difference.
Sure.
I'm still hitting my macros. My digestion's great. And again, in the posts, I'm very respectful of like, this is working for me and I want to try it as an experiment.
Sure.
And here are my findings. And nowhere in that post am I like, this is the new way of life. Everyone should do it. And here's the funny thing.
Forget the dead it's the planet.
Right.
You're like,
right. But here's the funny thing. Like the people that would comment on that post, you would have thought I made a post to legalize dog fighting.
Right.
Like there was a certain amount of outrage with people. Like I'm just like,
oh, they can't stand it, man.
I know. I'm just like, oh my God. So one guy was just, and I just had to laugh because now that I understand the plant-based diet and some of the science with it and that kind of thing, like I understand, like why people view the things they do and they're very protective of, and I'm respectful of that. But one guy was like, so what do you mean your digestion's better? Are you just shitting all the time? And I'm like, well, I have higher fiber. Like I'm hitting high, like I don't feel bloating in my stomach. Well, what do you mean? Did you test your your deadlift, your squat, and your bench. How do you know you're
What's your
just as
5
strong?
rep backs?
Right. And I was like, actually, I did. Here's the
Hey,
results.
right.
Well, what do you mean you have higher endurance? Does that mean you can run faster? And I'm like, well, I'm not running any slower. So, and I don't get tired as easily.
Well, we'll find out the NFL Combine in a month. Oh, shit.
So, yeah, just some of it, man. I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. I'm not
I know,
promoting it
man.
as your way of life. I'm just promoting that I tried it.
I have a funny joke. Well, it's because nutrition philosophies are like religion these days, right? And now that's where our company comes in and says, hey, look, there's many ways to skin a cat, right? It could be plant-based, it could be carnivore, it could be just macros and 80-20, right, or whatever. But ultimately, you have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
And that way you can be at peace, enjoying it, and ultimately get the health, right? The health piece that you want, because health is the most important thing. But there's a joke, and I posted this the other day on, I think it was like Story or something. And man, you would have thought, like you said, I was starting not a dog fighting, but like child fighting or something.
Right.
Like, how dare you? But I said, how can you tell if someone's vegan? And I said, oh, don't worry. Within the first 5 minutes of meeting you, they'll tell you.
Very
And
true.
they were, dude, the comments I got were like, and this is why you shouldn't have a platform. And like, I'm like, it was a joke,
Right,
first of
right.
all. And I
Yeah.
appreciate all my sisters are vegan, by the way. Nobody
Yeah.
knows that. But like, all my family's vegan. I'm not, but I respect it, right?
Right.
But it's just religion, man. It's like, but it goes back to our tribal sense, right? Everybody feels like they need to be a part of a tribe. And when they see somebody else, here's what it is. Ultimately, it's very simple. They see someone else with success following something else. They don't ultimately inside feel like they've reached the level of success following their religion, aka their diet, right? So it's a threat. It's a threat that what they've been doing all along is not accurate. So when someone like myself, who's a fitness guy, comes along and says, the carnivore diet probably isn't sustainable for most people. It's just meat, right? I mean, good luck. Good luck with that, but it's probably not sustainable long term. Could it help? Sure, for certain people, but it's probably not sustainable. The person who's starting to follow it, who's frustrated, like you might have been 2 weeks into 75 hard, goes, well, what the fuck, right? Like, that's not cool, man. Like, I'm over here busting my ass trying to follow carnivore, and you're saying it's not the right thing. I feel threatened.
Sure.
That's all it is.
Right.
And it's crazy because it's like, I don't care what you're doing as long as it's working for you. Man, plant-based, the smart reaction to that is, for those listening, is if you're not getting the results with your diet and you see someone like Larry who's got abs, who's got, his health intact, following a plant-based diet, what's stopping you from experimenting, man? Mm-hmm. It's not going to kill you, right? I mean, hey, unless you follow carnivore, right? Then it might kill you.
Right.
But seriously though, it's like Rogan, even Rogan came out and said, look, I'm not going to follow this religiously after this. I did it for a month, but now I'm eating pasta and whatever I want on the weekends. That's just what I'm going to do. That's what works for me. Mm-hmm. Sweet, man. There's not, it's not a cult.
Right.
Even though, there's been many cults. The Bulletproof Coffee was one for many years. That was like, I made a post. I don't even remember this, but like a couple of years ago, I wrote Bulletproof Coffee is bullshit. That was my post on Facebook. Probably a little more immature than I'd like to have been, but, I got 500 comments on that post, and
sure.
most of them were just, you are a piece of shit.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? I lost 1 pound, bro.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm just kidding. Like, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But,
It
dude, I'm
is.
freaking pumped that you found something. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, it's working well. I mean, the thing that I try to do is just, and I think the one thing that I think fitness related, I think everyone should try to do is, and whether you're vegan, meat, whatever, try to get your food sources from whole food, from like actual food. Like if your food comes in a box with a clown on it, it might not be the best. It might taste really good.
Yeah, it's going to taste amazing.
Right. But it might not be, the best.
Good
thing
luck
in
not
the-
eating the whole box, too.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So, eating like whole foods, fruits and vegetables, those types of things, just getting even carbs. Like, I mean, I love rice.
Sure.
I mean, but sweet potatoes, butternut squash, that kind of thing. Like, those types of complex carbohydrates, I think, are going to do you better nutritionally because everyone is so focused on macronutrients. The thing that you also have to focus on, whether you're a meat eater or not, doesn't matter, is you got to focus on micronutrients because at a micro level, your body does need vitamins and minerals. I mean, and unfortunately, if it comes out of a box or a bag, unless it's been fortified to death, you're not going to get those nutrients that you really need.
it's one of our guiding principles. We have we call it the lean lifestyle principles inside our programs, but it's 80-20 at minimum, right? So 80% of your food, no matter what diet you follow, should come from whole natural foods.
Right.
Hopefully local sourced if you can. There's levels to it, right? Like, I mean, there's some people who can afford to go to the farm and pick it up themselves and whatever, but some people are just okay with going to their local grocer and buying organic or buying just real food, right? I mean, ultimately it's hard to overeat when you just eat real food.
Yep.
It's much more satiating. And your energy levels stay a lot more stable too. I mean, try eating a whole jar of Nutella. I mean, see how you feel. I've tried it.
I know. It actually sounds really good right now.
I think Nutella's plant-based, right? It's a nut or something.
Yeah, it's hazelnuts. So
yeah.
just eat that. And there's cocoa.
No wonder you're loving this diet. Right? Peanut butter and Nutella for breakfast.
Mix it together.
That's amazing, man. Well, dude, how's let's talk about fatherhood, man. I'm curious. I want to, not to completely shift gears out of nowhere, but I do respect everything you put out in terms of fatherhood, mostly because you're very transparent with your own family and the things you deal with, right? And having you have 4 boys. I complain, 2 boys. You have 4. What are some of the things that maybe you have gone through recently with your kids that are things that a lot of us are either going through or will go through at some point?
Where do you want me to start?
Well, besides the porno magazines that you found, what else?
Right.
Besides having 17 memberships to.
Right. Yeah. So, I've got a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about sex.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it was actually fine. They really didn't have like we're pretty open with the boys. Like, we kind of have like this. It's not like, hey, you guys are good here for a few minutes, right? Me and mom are nothing like that. But there have been times where, they come to the put everybody to bed, and they come to the door and the door's locked, and then the next day, and we're like, hey, we'll be with you in a minute. Go back to your room, whatever. And then the next day, and of course my wife is like, well, what do we tell them? I was like, we tell them the truth. Like, there's got to be boundaries there, and we can't make sex taboo. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. We don't have an open door policy on this, but we have an open door of communication. So
I was just thinking of so many jokes right now.
I know.
We have an open door policy. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. Just
luck of the draw.
Yeah. Good luck scarring you for life. But no, like, the next day, like, they were like, why was your door locked? And even my wife, before we had this conversation, was like, what do we tell them? I was like, just tell them the truth. Like, I'm not going to give them details. We're just going to tell them, like, hey, there's boundaries here, and if the door's locked, you walk away. Like,
sure.
That's the thing.
That makes sense.
And so, like, the boys were like, what were you guys doing? And I was like, well, we were having sex. And they were like, seriously? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
like, at that age, they know what it is, right?
They do. And I was like, and guess what? I was like, when you're married and if you're not having sex, that's a bigger problem. I was like, so here's the thing. Yeah, is it gross to know that your parents are doing it? Of course. I was like, but the older you get, what you'll realize is how much, and you guys see it, like how much me and mom love each other, how much we're attracted to each other, how much we are affectionate with each other, how much we compliment each other. Like, all those things are so important. And if you're not doing that in a marriage, you're not in a good place.
Sure.
And I was like, so here's the thing. I know that this is disgusting for you guys to think about, and I don't want you to think about it that much, okay? I was like, but
erase it from your brain.
Right. I was like, but here's what I want you to know. There's a couple things. Number one, you've got to respect me and mom's time together.
Yeah.
Like, that's really important, okay? Like, there are going to be times where you're going to come to the door and the door's going to be locked. It's just going to happen. And what I ask you to do is respect that boundary, and also respect the fact that after we go to bed, I would say the majority of nights, unless it's urgent, that's really our time. Whether we are physically together or not, just we're talking, we're connecting. Sometimes we have the TV on, sometimes the TV's off, we're talking. Like, that's just our way of coming together at the end of the night. And I was like, not to say like, if you need something, dude, come to the door. If something is urgent, come to the door. But otherwise, that's kind of our time, okay?
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. And that's just the way it was. And then the sex talk was pretty easy. They had a lot of questions. We took them through that. The other thing I'll tell you is we just got my 14-year-old a mobile device. And that's a whole new world.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole new world.
His own cell phone.
His own cell phone.
Yeah.
We actually have a show sponsor by the name of Bark. I don't know if you've heard of Bark.
No.
Your kids are too little. But if your kids have a mobile device, there is a company and organization out there. It's fairly new, but it's growing rapidly. It's called Bark. It's an application that you sign up for. It's like $8 a month, and basically what it does is it tracks language on your kids' devices. So whether it be a website search, whether it be a text message, an email, social media, it tracks words. So like for instance, if you want to hear something really funny, I'll get alerts like probably a few times a week. And one is like, hey, there's an alert on Ethan's phone, category cyberbullying, and I'll open up the actual on my dashboard, and it's me. I'm talking to him.
We noticed a Larry Hagner.
Right.
Said, you asshole.
Right.
You ready to get your fat ass in shape?
Right, right. But I think I did say some sort of curse word. But I think I said, WTF. Like I didn't actually say it, the F word, but I said WTF in a text, and it flagged that.
Oh, man.
And then there was another one that's like cyberbullying violence. Like, and I saw a conversation on my dashboard from him and another friend of his, and my son said, "You're so mean."
Okay.
And then I found one. This is really interesting. Then I found one between him and my brother-in-law. I guess he wanted my brother-in-law to get him like a certain type of battery because he's an electrician. Because he wanted to make a zapper for the dog.
Oh.
And what it keyed in on was zapper. And my brother-in-law's response says, "Your parents would kill me." And I was able to see. I was able to see this.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And
can he delete the app or
no?
Okay.
No.
And you know if he deleted it, right? Like he would.
No, it's not even an app on his phone. It tracks. So it's on my computer, and it tracks his phone.
Love it.
So through Wi-Fi and through like I put in the information on the actual iOS device.
Wow.
So it knows the device. So yeah, I can track things, and I'm like, "Hey man, what's up with this zapper?" And he's like, looks at me like, "What? How'd you know that?"
Oh shit.
I just know, man.
I just know.
So there's that. The sex talk, mobile devices. I'd say the other thing too is always instilling a growth mindset in your kids.
Oh yeah.
There's actually 2 points. So that's really big. Kids are notorious for being like, "I can't do that. I'm not good at that." And I always say, I use the word "yet" a lot. You can't do that yet. You can't. You don't understand this math yet. Yeah. You don't know how to play this piece of music yet, but you will. Just always understanding that you can evolve, you can learn.
Sure.
That's really big. And then the last thing is being a leader in your family and not a manager. Like most parents, most of us dads, we are managers. We manage tasks with to-dos. Okay, I did that. I'm going to go on to the next thing. What we really need to think about is leading. Teaching our kids to be leaders. But the way we teach them to be leaders is we lead ourselves and we lead them. And one way to really do that is really understand what is the core values of your family. A lot of people are like, well, how do I even find that out? We take guys through an exercise to help them figure that out, but that's so important. Yeah. Like, so our family core values are family, obviously, family coming together as community, humor, communication, health, vitality, and quality time.
And locked doors during sex.
Yes, that's the 8th. But those are our 7 core values.
Nice.
That's the way we operate our family. So like if something isn't healthy, like if my kid is asking like, "Hey, my friends are going to this, like my friend went to a porn site," I was like, "Well, we don't do that here."
Right, because one of our values is
if you're going to do that, you have to have a locked door.
Son, we should talk about this behind the closed door.
Right.
We're not in the safe space.
Right. But you have to lead. They're obviously to-dos, but you have to lead. And in order to lead, you have to understand what those family core values are, and then you have to live within those core values.
Sure.
So like I'll give you an example. This morning, like I was trying to head out the door into the airport, and I just stopped myself and asked myself like, how can I lead in some way, shape, or form this morning to where my oldest, who's awake right now, can see it. And part of that was like, I'm going to be very affectionate with his mom before I leave. I'm going to kiss her. I'm going to compliment her. I'm going to tell her I love her. And I'm going to make sure he's right there to see it. And he was. And he's like, "You guys are so cute and gross at the same time." And I take that as a compliment. I'm like,
sure.
Yeah, we are. Like, and then the other thing too is like I hugged him. I was like, "I'm really going to miss you." I took him to school. And before he got out of the car, I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, do well today, lead well, lead other people around you, be a servant leader and be a good follower, make good decisions. And he walked out, he left the car. But like things like that versus like, yeah, have a good day, so it's like, how can we lead better?
Man, I got to do a better job of that too. I'm thinking about dropping my little bastards off.
But get out.
I'm like, you'll find your way in.
Yeah. It's
Are we at the right school? I don't even care.
Yeah,
just get out.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, no, it's crazy though, because how many times, I'm sure you would agree, we do that.
Yeah.
Right? The little moments, I heard this, so I've got into coaching kids for basketball. I freaking love it. Like it's opened my eyes to the impact you can have on kids. I'll share a story with you in a second. But I thought about, every little moment that I have with my kids. I send them to school, right? They're little, they go to private school. And all day there was somebody else, right? They're with the teacher, they're with other peers or whatever. And it's great for social development. They have a lot of friends and all this stuff. But I thought to myself, I don't get that many moments to make an impact. They're not traveling with me to do podcasts every day. There would be no podcasts if that were happening. But it's like the moments that I do get, I really need to make them count,
Yeah.
And how many times have I, even just listened to that story, how many times have I dropped them off at school and it's been like, how quickly can I get them in the door and get the fuck out of here?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because I got so much to do. Like you said, you were in a hurry to get to the airport. But it's like, it doesn't have to be, like, I feel like as guys, and especially dads, we think it has to be this elaborate presentation, right? Like, look at me on my fucking horse and like,
right.
I'm here to save the day, guys. That's either that or nothing, right? But a simple, like I remember, and this is the story I'll tell you. So I'm coaching these kids in basketball, little 5-year-olds, and 5 and 6. And there's one kid on the team who's not yet 5 yet. He's 4.5. We let him on the team. Cute little kid, super sweet. Doesn't listen to a damn thing I say, or so I thought. So I get a little pep talk from his parent, a good pep talk.
Yeah.
It was an encouraging talk to me to say, hey, I want you to know that it's not easy for you to do this for my son. I really appreciate it. But did you know that every day between your last practice and this game, about 7 days, he has repeated all the things you taught him at practice? And she told me exactly what it was, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Wow.
And I'm thinking this little bastard is like off picking his nose, right? And meanwhile, he's got it on lockdown, because it's just not because, it's just because they sometimes emotionally can't show you what they're feeling, right? They don't know how to express that, hey, I am listening, I get it. But inside they are getting it, and they are starting to pick up on the things that you're doing and saying. And I thought, man, if this 4.5-year-old kid is like sponge, it's taking it all in and just absorbing it, imagine what my own kids are absorbing, in my day to day. I got to be really freaking careful of the example that I'm setting. And it was mind blowing to me. I'm like, what? This guy, like, you son of a bitch, like, you had me fooled, man. Like, and meanwhile, she's like, nope. He told me about the dribbling technique. He told me that you guys have your word of the day was teamwork last week and all this stuff. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Crazy.
That's good, man.
4.5. But like you said, man, as a father, I think sometimes I get confused as to what does leading actually mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what does that even mean? Like, okay, get in formation, guys. We're gonna, really, it's just your actions, right?
It's your actions, and you're not trying to manage things. You're trying to develop people. That's really what it is. And, trying to develop your kids, a coaching moment, a lesson, and your own actions. There's one other thing though too when it comes to fatherhood that I think is missed, and I think even if you ask motherhood, it's missed. A lot of us are doing our kids a tremendous, I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but
Sure.
But I think people will understand it. A lot of us are doing our kids a tremendous disservice, but it's with really good intention. A lot of parents will put the kids first, like, oh, they're first priority. That's not what I believe. That's not what my wife believes. That's not what I've seen the most successful marriages in the world believe. Are the kids important? Absolutely.
Of course.
However, the family crumbles if the foundation with you and her crumbles. So what's one way, like kids grow up, I mean, think of our society and think of how many people have relationship baggage. A lot of people have relationship baggage because they haven't seen a successful relationship for the majority of their life. They're the parents that raised them or potentially have had a mediocre marriage at best, where they just maybe kind of coexisted.
Yeah.
They were in each other's space. There were some good times, but a lot of bad times. Like it just sort of was there. On the flip side, I didn't have any father figures growing up that were like father figures for me. Like my dad left when I was, born, and then I was reunited with him when I was 12. Unexpectedly, he left again, and then I was reunited with him when I was 30. And when I can tell you, within those years of being a kid, my mom was married 3 times, and it was constant toxicity of would-be father figures. However, I did have this amazing grandfather, and what he did was he was 73 years old when he died. And there was never a day that went by that I didn't see him hug my grandmother, tell her she was beautiful, tell her how much he loved her. He was so compassionate. Like you could feel the love in the room when they were together. And I got to see that. And my grandpa never was like, here's how you talk to a woman. Here's how you treat a woman. Here's what you need to do. Never. I just got to watch it.
Yeah.
And now, I being older now, I truly appreciate that. And what I can tell you is that that's what my boys see. And my wife is more important than my kids. She just is, and she always will be. Now, if I put my wife at 100%, my priority, my kids are like 99.9. But they are second. They're not first. And for her, from her perspective, that's the same way. We're like, hey, we got to make sure we're good, you and I. Because if we're not good, they're not going to be good. So that's our view, and perhaps people out there is like, no, you got to put the kids first. That's just not what I believe. That's not what I've seen work for the majority of people. And if that is your view, I would highly encourage you to consider putting your spouse first, putting that relationship first. And then that way, think of the benefits and what those kids will see growing up. They're going to grow up being like, I know what a good relationship looks like. I saw it.
Yeah.
Like I got to see my parents be affectionate with each other. I got to see my parents hug and kiss, compliment each other, go out on date nights. They enjoyed each other versus like, yeah, I think my parents kind of liked each other, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. And yeah, it's one of the, I guess it's one of the reasons why I enjoy our friendship is because, and we talked about this a little bit before we went on air, but one of the big things that I suggest when it comes to anything in life that you want to be better at or you want to create a legacy around or just set an example for is surrounding yourself with people who encourage you and inspire you with their actions and are in the same boat as you, right? Because we're both in the same boat. We have different, careers. We have different family setup, but we have the same missions, right? We both want to be good dads. We both want to be healthy. Both want to be in shape. And I can't do it by myself, right? I can't live on this island and think, I'm just going to be able to handle everything because I'm strong enough, right? Ultimately, I need my mentors in a way. I need my accountability partners, bring that word up again. But ultimately with these things, that's really the secret.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's people out there, I tell my kids this all the time, you can do anything you want. Right. I know there's that whole like, oh, you can't really do anything you want. Well, ultimately you can, right? If you can at least pursue greatness in anything that you want. Right. Ultimately, where you end up, I could pursue greatness in basketball. I'm probably not going to be LeBron James. That's okay. But I could be the best. Yeah, I can be his towel holder, right? Like that'll be close enough, right? But like, no, I mean, at the end of the day, I can be really freaking good if I put a lot of time and effort into that.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
But I'm not going to be able to do it on my own.
Right.
I'm going to need coaches. I'm going to need teammates. I'm going to need guys who push me to be better. Guys who want to be great too. Who I can say, man, look at that guy over there. He's really crushing it, right? But we talked about this before we came on air, how there's this mentality that you can do it on your own somehow. And it's confusing to me. But I get it because in some parts of my life I've been there. But it's something that we got to wipe out.
If you really want to fire me up, it's this lone wolf mentality. This drives me freaking nuts.
Yeah.
And I think it drives me crazy because it's almost like you see your kids make the same mistakes you did, and it fires you up because you're like, no, I know the outcome of this. Like, don't do it this way. And I took so much before I started dad edge and all that, I took so much pride in like, I'm the lone wolf. I got this all on my shoulders. I'm strong. I'm stoic. I'm this, I'm that. And inside, I was crumbling.
Yeah.
I was completely crumbling. But if you ask me how life was, great, good,
Awesome.
fine. Everything was good and fine and good. But here's what I'll tell you, like, men in particular, like, really take pride in this lone wolf thing. And if men really understood what actually happens to the lone wolf, they wouldn't think it was so cool. The lone wolf dies. That's what happens. The wolf is only strong because of the pack, and the pack is only strong because of the wolf. If the wolf has lost his pack, he's gonna die without the pack. And if the wolf leaves the pack, it's because he's gonna go die. He knows it's his time, so he leaves the pack and he's gonna go die. But either way, it's not a good outcome for the lone wolf, and it's completely absurd. I'm the lone wolf. Oh, okay, so you're miserable and you're gonna die alone. That's enjoyable and fulfilling, said no one ever.
Sure.
Right.
Have you ever seen The Jungle Book? They talk about
right.
the wolf with the strength, the wolf with the pack.
Right.
Like, that's it.
But I mean, I just took my kids to see Call of the Wild.
Great movie.
Brand new movie out. There's one scene.
Great book, actually. But
great book, too.
Yeah.
There's one scene in that book that illustrates, and as I was watching it, I was like, I know what I'm viewing here right now. So there's this pack of wolves, and they're on a hunt, and one wolf, boom, goes down in this water and down these rapids.
Sure.
And the pack, like, completely leaves the hunt. Like, they decided to leave this animal alone that was completely vulnerable, and they're racing, like, alongside this, this water to get this wolf somehow, some way. They're just racing along, and they're barking, they're trying to go. Finally, this wolf, like, claws onto this log, and the water is just, like, going past them. Now, if the pack would have stayed and hunted, gone.
He's done.
Dead. So, of course, in the book, Buck, the main dog, goes up to this log, and he kind of puts his dog shoulder into it and moves the log just enough to where this wolf can get some footing and get back on the land.
Right.
So he ends up saving him. Same thing. He got out of that mess because somebody saw it and somebody threw him a line and helped him.
Correct.
Somebody who was like-minded, somebody who was in his pack, somebody who was in his tribe, in his community, and helped him. Otherwise, that wolf would have been screwed.
Right.
So when people say lone wolf, it's only the strength within that tribe. And the thing that I would encourage most men, especially with your tribe, my tribe, whatever, is finding like-minded people. Because you've got to be so freaking careful.
Sure.
When it comes to choosing the people that you spend time with.
It's incredibly
because
true.
they can hold you back just by privy, just by you being around them.
Yeah.
If you're not drinking alcohol for 30 days and you're married, chances are the person you're married to will either cut down their alcohol or stop.
Yep.
Same thing with people who are like-minded, people who want to fulfill, people who want to be fit.
Yeah.
You're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. If you're a fit guy, I would almost guarantee that people you spend time physically with are right in that realm, right?
Yep.
So whatever it is that you want to do or be in life, like, look at the circle that, and I mean, Andy Frisella, MFCEO, says this all the time. If you want to be a billionaire, you can't hang out with millionaires. You've got to hang out with billionaires. If you want to be a millionaire, you can't hang out with people who are
not millionaires.
Yeah, not millionaires. Like that, you have to upgrade. And I don't mean that from a snobbish point of view, but you have to be able to tap into that invaluable wisdom to get you to those places that you ultimately want to go.
Absolutely.
And believe it or not, maybe I hang out with millionaires because I want to be a millionaire. And maybe I'm thinking like, I want value from them. But guess what? Shockingly, some of the most financially well-off people that I've worked with, they need the guidance that I need to give them because their family is a wreck.
Absolutely.
So just things like that to think about as you move forward.
No, you're so right because, and I tell people all the time when I interview clients, right? A lot of them are successful in different parts of their life.
Yeah.
They have great family lives or their careers are just amazing. They're making killer money and they're, whatever, top of their company. And I say, look, you don't realize it yet, but you have the skills to be in shape. You have them because you've done everything you need to do in your marriage or you've done everything you need to do in your company. You've surrounded yourself with successful people. You've shown up. You've, been in the right environment. You've got accountability. You just don't have that in fitness. But you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Because you've done it.
Skills are the same.
I was like, if you can make $1 million, you can get abs.
You can buy them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a quick surgery, but
Right.
no, but like seriously, like, but that is, like you said, there's this lone wolf. I've never met anyone, honestly, you put a gun to my head. I've never met anybody who says, oh, I just did it on my own. Any successful endeavor. Listen to what athletes say when they win a championship. I want to thank my teammates. I want to thank my coach. Well, first they say, I want to thank God, and that's the first thing.
Right.
Thank God, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and then whatever. Then they go off. But seriously, they thank a list of people because they can't do it by themselves.
Sure. Yep.
And, you know, I mentioned Tom Brady before we started the show, but he's got coaches on top of coaches, man.
He's got 3 different coaches just for his one position.
Just for his morning routine.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Wait, so how do I'm going to get, my first 5 minutes of the day, I have 3 coaches for that.
Right, right.
But seriously.
Next 10 minutes or 7.
And look, I know, of course, the cop-out, right? We already know if you give people an opportunity, they'll take the back door. And, you know, at the end of the day, look, I know you don't have most people don't have the resources, Tom Brady, right? You don't have the resources of Bill Gates, all those, whatever. But the good news is we live in a world where you can get those for basically free. You know, I tell people all the time, hey, you want to be successful in some endeavor of your life, there's something called books. I don't know if you've heard of them, but you can surround yourself with books that have a lot of these pieces of advice or secrets or whatever that you're looking for, and start to create an environment around these authors that have written about the things you want to be successful with. You can join free groups. You can, you know, go online and follow all your favorite, you know, successful people on Twitter. You can stalk people, right? Like, I mean, it sounds funny, but you can almost, like I say, the mentor from afar, right? There's been many of those in my life where I look at them and I go, I don't know you, right? Like Kobe Bryant, when he passed away, I didn't know Kobe Bryant, right? But growing up, man, he was one of my biggest role models for sports. I was like, I want to work hard like that guy, right? He was a mentor from afar. And the more you can surround yourself with that, you can start to, and I'll tell you what, the mind is a powerful thing. And I've found this to be true more than ever the past couple of years, where when I start putting my mental energy into relationships that I want, right, where I say, okay, this person obviously knows what they're doing. They are in a place where I want to be. I don't know them yet, but I need to somehow connect with them, right? So I need to start mentally thinking about, like, how can I connect with this person? And ultimately, a lot of times it happens by just being so focused on surrounding myself with that person or the people they know and getting myself into that circle. If you're willing to put the mental energy into it and to take action, obviously, on top of that, you can ultimately create a very strong network and support system of people that help you reach your goals. It's not impossible. Ultimately, I tell people all the time, if I can do it, man, like any fucking buddy can. It's the serious truth, though. I'm no special guy that has all these people around him. It's just that, like you said, you have to be, number one, willing to admit that you need the help.
Exactly.
And that's the hardest part.
It is, because it's ego.
Huge ego.
And ego, a lot of people think ego is overconfidence, but ego, when you let it go and you ask for help, it's literally one of the lightest things you'll do.
Yeah.
It's like taking off a 50-pound rucksack, and you're like, I'm kind of done trying to figure this out on my own, because nothing's more. The thing that I'll share with your audience is, as I know we're probably need to wrap up, but when you have a guide, someone who's mentoring you, someone who's showing you the way.
Yeah.
A lot of times what life feels like is you're in a room, pitch black, and you're looking for the light, and you just can't find it. You just keep hitting the wall, and you're like, okay, I went that way, that didn't work. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, that didn't work. Oh, crap, there's something on the floor. I just stepped on another Lego. Like, I don't have shoes on.
Happened to me last night.
Right. Oh, my God, nothing hurts worse. And suddenly there's a guide that comes and taps you on the shoulder and be like, 2 steps to your right, 1 step to your left. Look at 3 feet on the wall. There it is.
Yeah.
Boom. Shorten the learning curve, take away the frustration. And when you think about that for your health and fitness, your health for your mental, emotional fitness, marriage, kids, even mastering your finances.
Yeah.
You have a guide that's like, okay, let me take a look at what you're doing here. Okay, if you do this and you do that and you do this, then this, it'll work better. Versus like, I can't believe this happened again for the 17th month in a row. We're out of money. like just things like that where people can guide you and shorten your learning curve and reduce your stress. I mean,
Yeah.
the quickest way to learn something is to have someone guide you through it.
Who's done it before.
Right. Being
Yeah.
a lone wolf can be frustrating as hell.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, analogies we could use. I always use the Mount Everest one where it's like, if I'm ever crazy enough to want to climb Mount Everest, do you think I'm going to do it alone? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. I don't think you're almost, I mean, I don't know if anyone ever has. I don't know.
They have.
Have they
Yeah,
really?
there's been a solo mission up to Mount Everest. But keep in mind, that person didn't do it the first time by themselves.
Right.
This is somebody who had tried many times before with teams and whatnot and said, okay, finally I feel confident enough. It's like, hey, I've hired a coach 8 times to prep for a bodybuilding show. This time I'm going to give it a go by myself. That's what it was.
Right.
But most of the time, you got a team.
Right.
Even the
Right.
most experienced climbers have a team. It's like, why would you think that you can do anything that takes a lot of effort and work without any knowledge? How would you ever think you could do it on your own?
Right.
Right. Dude, so what are you most excited about this year?
Oh man, so we've got a lot of things. So speaking, I've got a lot of speaking coming up, and
Nice.
I'm speaking at Dad 2.0 as we record this. In May, I'm speaking at the Financial Freedom Summit.
Nice. Where's that? St.
It's
Louis?
in St. Louis. There's
Okay.
going to be over 3,000 people there.
Wow.
Over 55 speakers. I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to be
Nice.
speaking on how to basically turn your passion into an actual thriving organization.
Business.
How to do that. We have our own Dad Edge Summit.
Nice.
It's going to be in St. Louis, June 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Sweet.
The other thing that we're planning this year is we are planning on a rite of passage trip for fathers and sons. And I think we'll probably only take on 12 men and their sons.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a trip to Colorado, and we're going to be doing half the day is going to be, it's going to be 3 days. Half the day is going to be spent doing what I would call like dad and son masterminding, which would be more like generative questions, deep connection, a shared purpose, and then the pillars of a rite of passage and what those look like. We have 7 of them. And then we're going to be taking them through some physicality things, not anything hard, but like hiking and looking at nature and beauty and that kind of thing, and then bringing them back to do more types of interacting. But it's going to, the connections that men will leave with their sons.
Yeah.
Their sons will, their father will be on their deathbed and they'll both remember those moments.
That's amazing.
The son will be on his deathbed whenever that day comes, and he'll remember that time with his
Yeah.
father. And we just don't really have a celebratory rite of passage anymore, but we're creating one. We're creating this for them. And yeah, the other thing too is, the mastermind community is, I would say, bigger and stronger than it's ever been. And we constantly make it smaller. So we have almost 400 men now that do life with us, and we have 22 different call team breakout sessions we do per week.
Wow.
And men are thriving in their marriages.
It's amazing.
Doing really well. So I'm just excited to. The thing that really fuels me, and I'll end with this. The thing that really, really fuels me is when a man steps into something that we do. It can be an event. It can be a mastermind. It can be coaching. It can be anything. It doesn't really matter. Even if he's a podcast listener, it doesn't matter. And I get these emails and I get these, or comments on social media of like, I started listening to your podcast, or I, joined the mastermind. Our relationship with my wife was a 3, and like now it's like an 8. Like we're back, and like finally understand the skill set, and I know what to do. I know how to communicate with her. Or it's like, I couldn't connect with my teenager, and now all of a sudden my teenager and I were tight again.
Yeah.
Like things like that I just hear these mass successes, and those are the things that I most look forward to every year.
It's amazing, man. That's awesome. Where can people connect with you?
Just go to lockedmasterbedroomdoor.com.
Behind the door.
Right. Knock twice. No, I'm kidding.
18 and up only.
God only knows if that's an actual website or not. You can find me on Instagram. At the Dad Edge. I'm really active on there lately.
Yeah.
And as far as Facebook, we've got, you can find me on Facebook.
Sure.
Larry Hagner. And then we've got a large Facebook group. You're a part of it. It's called the Dad Edge, Real Dads with Purpose. That's what I would call our big free group. We've got thousands of men in there. And what I can really say about that group is high integrity.
Sure.
Men will ask all different kinds of questions as it relates to being a father, husband, finances, business, health, a whole 9 yards. And they get real-time, really good feedback from the guys who are in there. And then if you want more, you can go to gooddadproject.com/alliance.
Sweet.
That's our mastermind community. That's where, we have, like I said, almost 400 fathers that do life with us on a weekly, daily, monthly basis.
Awesome, man. What about the podcast?
Podcast, yeah. Podcast is Dad Edge and actually turns 5 years old this year.
Sweet,
yeah,
dude.
It's on.
That's awesome.
It's on
How many episodes?
Over 550 now. Yeah.
Nice, brother.
We've had some really fantastic names on.
You have.
Yeah, Jocko Willink has been on. And,
Yep. You had Farsala on, right? Or no, did you not have Farsala on?
Here's the funny thing. So I've gotten a lot of these high-level elite people, and Farsala lives in my backyard. And I'm like, and I'm really good friends with Vaughn.
Oh, yeah, Vaughn.
I knew Vaughn before he worked with Andy. And I'm like, Vaughn, would you get Andy on my show for the love of God? And
that's the only thing I got on you, man. I got Andy on my show.
I know. I know.
I can't get we'll talk about it off air, but you've had something. I will vouch for the fact that I feel like you are at least somebody I look up to in terms of guests. You've had some incredible guests on. So
Thank you.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, highly recommend the show. It's a great show. Actually, you were the first podcast I ever listened to. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, you were the first one. Yeah, first podcast I ever, because when I met David, he said, you should listen to the Good Dad Project. So that was the first one I ever listened to. And I think the first episode was with Sean
Stevenson, my co-host. He and I were co-hosting that show for 80 episodes.
Yeah, he was the first one I ever listened to.
Yeah, his platform blew up, and then mine did, and it just time-wise, we just couldn't.
Happens.
Yeah.
No, but I remember that. Those are the good old days.
They are.
What is this? This is awesome.
Every time I get a guy who applies for the mastermind and we talk, because I talk to each guy on Zoom for about 20 minutes to get to know him. And he's like, man, I've been listening to you from the very beginning. I'm like, I'm sorry for that first year. I was really trying to get my wheels on.
We didn't know what we were doing. But
we didn't.
That's awesome. That's so cool, dude. Well, thanks for coming on the show, brother. It's always a pleasure, man. It's always one of my. I know it's always one of the shows that people mention as one of their favorites. So
that was fun. Appreciate it.
Awesome, brother.